So here are the 3 best ways to increase rankings that we're going to talk about today. As I said earlier, these can apply to bloggers, these can apply to e-commerce stores. Any type of site can benefit from these practices. I'll let you know what they are before we start.
Optimizing your link structure, using helpful header tags, and organizing your internal links is the best way to move up in search results. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about how you can make those work for you. So optimizing your link structure. You do this by using relevant keywords in the actual URLs of your page. Relevant keywords are ones that are specific, unmistakable about their meaning. And so vague words like us or about us, descriptions, products, settings, words like that are vague, and Google doesn't necessarily know what that refers to within your site, especially if it's a new site. And users especially don't know what those mean. They've never been to your site before. Descriptions or hello, things like that are not going to give them a great picture of what's on that page. However, if you're very descriptive, which is new products, best-selling products, let's just say that you run a bakery and you have a page that's called donuts, home-baked bread, whole wheat bread, gluten-free. Those types of words in a URL will help not only your customers know what type of information is on that page, but it absolutely helps Google know what's on that page. And if Google knows what's on that page, there's a much better chance that they are going to serve your page for relevant rankings. Now, you obviously have to have content on the page, words and pictures that match that URL. You can't just put a word in the URL and expect to rank for it. But you can use a URL to reinforce the topics that you're talking about on the page. 3 ways to do that on each and every page. Find useful page names. That includes the meta title of the page, as well as the name of the page that might appear on the page, depending on the CMS that you're using, the content management system that you've chosen for your website. Those page names and post names, if you're talking about a blog post, using those relevant words, unmistakable words that make sense to a user, those help it make sense to Google as well. So be sure to include those in every single page name that you use, and make sure that those correspond with the URL that you created. And so we've already talked about relevant words a little bit, but I've mentioned that as one of the 3 things here. Neutral terms like the and, descriptors like amazing or our, words that can mean a number of different things. Feel free to leave those out of your URLs. There's a little bit more conversation that could be that we could go into when it comes to the words that should go in a URL, but in general, the more descriptive, the more specific it is, those are the words that you want to leave in the URL. Anything that's very neutral or could have a vague meaning, take that out of your URL. And finally, you want to keep your URLs concise. The longer it gets, the less impact that each individual word in your URL is going to have. So if you keep them brief but relevant, you want to have those important words in the URL. You don't want to make them so short that you're taking out important terms that can help Google and users understand the page. But you definitely want to keep them short and not include a lot of fluff. Let's move on to our the second technique that we're going to talk about today, which is using helpful header tags. So header tags, for example, if you're using WordPress or another CMS, you'll see those listed as H1, H2, H3. If you're working with a web developer, if you're working with a designer, they'll know what it means to tag something as an H1, H2, or H3. In general, H1 is going to be the most important statement that you're making about the page. Your H1 is going to be the most prominent text at the top of the page, and it's also going to define the scope of the content on that page. So if you're talking about an e-commerce product, the H1 is probably going to be your product name. If you're talking about a post, the H1 is probably going to be the title of that article. And more often than not, it matches the page name, and more often than not, the words in your H1 should also appear, the important ones anyway, should also appear in the URL. And once again, just like the URLs, not a lot of fluff in the H1. You do have some leeway here if you feel like describing your topic in an exciting way or a colorful way is going to resonate with your users. That's perfectly fine, but you also want to make sure that you don't make it too long and too many words, or use verbiage that's going to be confusing to your users and to Google search algorithm. So an H2 comes beneath the H1. The H1 should describe what the entire page is about and should be the most prominent visual text. H2 is a step down from there. It's still visually prominent, just not as much as the H1. And it's going to describe the section of that page. So if you've got a product category, if you've got a blog post and you've got your main topic, think of H2s as your subtopic. Again, just like the H1s, they have to include relevant keywords. If you have an H2, for example, that says, here's a list of features or settings or benefits, that sort of describes what that section is about. But adding other modifiers to that is even better when it comes to moving up in search rankings. So, for example, if your product is a toy airplane features or benefits of using this toy airplane, I think you get what I'm talking about. Anything that you can do to keep it concise but make it absolutely easy to understand for a user and a search algorithm what's in that section, that's what you want to have on your H2. H3s are usually fall into the category of describing the thoughts. So that could be a bullet point list. So say you've used an H2 to say, here's a list of the amazing features of my product that you've mentioned in the H2. The H3 is going to actually list those benefits. And those, once you get down to the H3, those can be a little bit more general. You don't have to worry as much about very, very specific words, and here's why. The H3s are going to automatically be related by Google to the H2 and the H1, or the H2s and the H1 on that page. So they're all working together to create an overall picture, an overall outline of the page. So yes, this helps Google understand your page. It also helps your users follow the flow of the page. These are visual cues. That's the reason that they're so important to Google, is because they're visual cues that help users too. And ultimately, Google and other search engines just want to serve the best page, the page that the people that trust their search results are going to love. And using helpful header tags is going to help. The third technique that we're going to talk about today, and our 3 helpful hints for moving up in the search rankings, is organized internal linking. This might sound a little bit more difficult, but it's actually. If you've ever created a post that talks about a topic or talks about another product on your website, internal linking you've probably used it. So you're talking about something on one page, you want to refer viewers to another page. That's an internal link when you physically link in the text to that other page. So to break that down a little bit, you want to organize your pages into topical silos. So let's go back to our example of a bakery. Any pages that are related to donuts, you will want to link together. Any pages that are related to bagels, you'll want to link those pages together internally from page to page, so that 1, users can understand that there's related information on these pages, but 2, Google and their search algorithm can also easily detect that these pages are related. You also want to keep the top nav on your website very simple. This prevents any kind of confusion. on behalf of the Google search algorithm, but primarily from a user standpoint as well. If you offer too many options in your top nav, that's going to distract users when they come to your website. They may come to a page and they've been there for the first time, and maybe that page has the exact information that they're looking for. But if you have a bajillion options in the top nav, they might get distracted and they might go to another page and not really realize that they've already found what they're looking for. But keeping your top nav simplified prevents distractions and just makes it easier for users to make a choice about the pages that they want to navigate to. And again, ultimately, we're communicating with the Google search algorithm as well. And a simple top navigation makes it clear to Google what your most important pages are within your site. And then you also want to support main pages with those internal links. So maybe you have smaller topics or topics that you've discovered some customers or some users, some readers have questions about, but not all of them. And so you want to take those smaller topics and link those back to the pages that are going to be the most relevant to the most amount of people. Again, we'll use this example of the bakery. So if you have a page about gluten-free donuts, and you also have a page about the lemon donuts, or you have pages about the custom donuts that you can make for people who want a custom donut, all of those should link back to your primary donuts menu page on your bakery website, because that primary list of all of the main categories of donuts that you make at your bakery, that's the one that most people are going to want to see. And so you take these smaller topics and you use an internal link within the text or on an image, and you link those back to that primary page. And again, that just helps organize your site and helps users understand where to go, and it helps Google understand where you want users to go. The bonus rankings include image search. Image search, you've probably all searched for a photo, you've gone online, you've gone to Google, and you've tried to find a picture of a celebrity or a product, or you wanted to see an infographic to use maybe in your own content that you're publishing. Well, image search is an additional ranking that you can get from all of these techniques that we've talked about, because the better that Google understands your content and your website, the more often they're going to serve it. And that can include traditional search results, but also in the image search. So make sure that when you put an image in any of these sections under an H1 or an H2, make sure that those images are related to that topic, because with these techniques, you might also appear in those rankings. And if the person that's done an image search finds that relevant to the topic, they'll click on through to your website. Answer box is another dynamic search result on Google. It's where people can go to find answers to specific questions about specific topics, and having well-organized content on your site, well-made URLs, header tags, and internal links, that can help you show up in the answer box in addition to those traditional search rankings.
Then there's the knowledge panels. Now these probably aren't going to be as effective as much for e-commerce retailers. If you've got product pages, those are probably not going to show up in a knowledge panel. But knowledge panels are those, you might even see them as a carousel that go across the top of the page on Google. And they have links to different authors or different types of animals. There's all these different categories. But they're pieces of knowledge that come up at the top of the screen to give Google users an answer before they actually click through to your page. So if you've optimized your site using those techniques, you might start showing up for the knowledge panel results as well. Okay, so congratulations, you've come to the end of this module. You're now ready to move on and complete the next section in this free SEO Made Easy course from Namecheap.